Kwa majina naitwa Dr. Stanislaus Kivai. Mimi nafanya kazi na idara ya utafiti wa nyani kule mjini Nairobi, lakini huwa tunafanya kazi haya maeneo ya Tana River. Na ningependa kwanza kuzungumzia kazi ambayo tunaifanya katika idara yetu ya uhifadhi wa nyani ama Kenya Institute of Primate Research. Kenya Institute of Primate is one of the newest government agencies. Hama ni kitengo mpya cha serikali. Tumeidhinishwa kuoperate kama kitengo cha serikali mwaka uliopita wa 2023. Na katika yale mandate tumepewa na serikali, we are two-folded, or the mandate is two-folded. We do biomedical research and we do conservation research. Niko sana upande wa conservation, and I'm the head of the conservation program at the Kenya Institute of Primate Research. So today, through the support of Rewald are one of the people who are actually supporting conservation, and through the African director, we got an opportunity to have a community workshop to talk more about the primates, and more so, the threatened primates in the Tana River region and the biodiversity in general. So today we've engaged with the communities from different places within Tana River County, and also different representatives of the county government, whereby we were trying to come up with issues that are affecting the conservation of our primates, the conservation of our biodiversity, and we had a very fruitful engagement with the community where they proposed the issues that are affecting the conservation of the biodiversity, and more so the critically endangered primates of the Tana River, which are the Tana River red colobus and the Tana River mangabe. So from here, we want to develop a threat mitigation action plan which will guide the community in addressing the problems that the biodiversity and the critically endangered primates are actually facing. And we've done that successfully. We will engage at a higher level now with the stakeholders and come up with a very effective mitigation action plan to address the threats which biodiversity are facing in this lower Tana region. So maybe coming back and to educate people more about primates. Kenya is one of the range countries when it comes to primate conservation. Kenya holds 19 different species of primates, of which 100% of all these species are actually facing a sharp decline in population. In other words, all the species are actually declining in terms of their population. But the most interesting part of it is 50% are actually facing a serious threat of extinction. And if we look at the primates in the country, we have two very important species which are endemic in the Tana River region, and they are not found anywhere else in the world. These two species are the Tana River red colobus and the Tana River mangabe, and they only occur within a stretch of 60 kilometers from where the river enters into the ocean, and as we stretch towards the upper part of the river. So it's a very small stretch, and the numbers are actually declining at a very alarming rate. If I can go back to statistics in terms of population trend, the monitoring of the two species started way back in 1970s. Then the two species had a population of about 5,000. In the year 1994, that is like after 2 decades, that population had declined to about 1,000 individuals of both the mangabe and both the Tana River red colobus. From 2000, the next comprehensive survey we've done was in 2021 to 2023. And within those 2 years, we found that the mangabes have registered a decline from the numbers we had in 2001, 2000, which was about 2,000. The mangabes have now dropped to 1,650. The red colobus, we've seen some positive trend, whereby we had about 1,000 or less than 1,000, but now we counted 2,219 individuals. So that has given us an upward trend. But that doesn't mean things are so good. What that means is the enhanced conservation through community conservancies have actually had a positive impact on conserving these two species. But this is only around the Tana Primate National Reserve, where we have the Dera Community Conservancy. Down in the Delta, we have the Ashakonyongoro, and we have the Lower Tana Delta, where we have some pockets of these animals. So in areas which are highly protected, we've seen the numbers going up, but areas where there is no protection, the numbers have sharply declined. A good example, the area between Mitapani and Mwina, which in the previous census had the highest density and the highest number of groups. The recent census that has dropped from 50 groups to about 5 groups for Manga Bay, and from 50 to 17 groups of red colobus. There is massive destruction of the habitat, and we've seen now people are killing these animals for bushmeat consumption. I was shocked to find that a sykes in that region is going at 4,000 Kenya shillings. A baboon is selling at 500 shillings. The Manga Bays and the red colobus are in between 500 and 4,000. This is a direct effect on the species, especially these two critically endangered species. So the key lies within the community. The community have the key for the survival of these two species. So we have no option other than engaging the local community and taking an approach of multi-stakeholder partnership to address this problem. This is why we've come together as Kenya Institute of Primate Research, Kenya Wildlife Service, Wildlife Training Institute, Nature Kenya, Northern Rangeland Trust, Ulinzi Africa Foundation, with support of the world to address these issues. And I'm very sure and very optimistic with kind of engagement we've had with the community and support we are giving to the communities. We are actually going to reverse the trend of these species, and we will be able to start recording an upward trend of these species in terms of their population recovery. So that is what I can say for now. So the situation is not good, but there is future. If we really commit to support the conservation cause with the community, we are actually going to win the war, and we will have the numbers bounce back.
How does climate change affect their life also?
Oh, well, climate change is actually a big thing now, which is actually hailing our biodiversity. And in this case, the Tana River red colobus and the Tana River Manga Bay are not spared either. These animals are actually dependent on the Tana River Garali forest. These are the riverine forests. And with climate change, we've seen things like very abnormal river regimes. Floods, sometimes they go for a long time without flooding the Tana flood regions. So the Tana flood plains, which are also utilized by these animals, if they go for long periods without water, we've already observed that some of the key species that are supporting these animals are drying up. What that means is, if the animals can't access enough food, then their reproductive potential is also affected. They cannot breed normally, and you find that the numbers cannot actually bounce back as normal. Research has shown that where animals have access to good diet, they have shortened in the birth intervals, and they reach maturity at a early age. Where they are deprived of food resources, the interbirth intervals are really prolonged, and also they tend to take long before they reach maturity. So because of effects of climate change, is going to affect the food resources along the Tana River for the primates. It's obvious that you will just have issues with the reproductive fitness of these animals. So that is one way. The other thing, Tana River for the longest time has been maintained by the meandering of the river. With limited flooding regimes, that is distorted. If that gets distorted, some of the areas which normally used to be maintained by those flooding regimes, they are also disappearing. And where we had some populations in those, like around the Hawksbill Lakes, those populations also die out. So there is a very direct impact of climate change when it comes to the survival of these two species. And also, because of climate change, temperatures are getting high, droughts are becoming so prolonged. We've seen a massive infestation of the Prosophis juniflora, which is the madenge, which is an invasive species, which is actually coming and taking over the native vegetation. And that also has an impact to these two species in terms of the habitat they prefer and in terms of the resources that they can access. So for sure, climate change has an impact on these two species.